my voice in a frog pedal, but anyway.
You sound great.
So what would you like to know?
Well, I'm going to start it off with a little introduction thing. Are you guys recording, by the way?
Yes, I am.
All right, today is April 22nd, 2017, and we are in East Moline. My name is Jason Fly, and I'll be interviewing Betty Felder for the Illinois Veterans History Project on behalf of the Moline Public Library. Betty was born on 3/3/37.
39.
Oh, sorry, 39.
I better give him my glasses.
And is, how old are you? Sorry, I can't do the math.
78.
78 years old. Also present is James Fly and
Rhonda Westmoreland.
Rhonda Westmoreland. Thank you for being part of the interview.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Find my little sheet. Okay. So, where were you born?
Pardon?
Where were you born?
Iowa City, Iowa.
Nice, nice. Okay. So which branch of the military did you serve?
Army Nurse Corps.
Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Well, I just don't know exactly what you'd like to hear, but I tell you this. While my military service, I was never so scared, had so much fun, and worked so hard in my life. So that kind of shows you. When I was scared, we were mortared several times, and I got some shrapnel in me. Not very much, but I fell into a bunker and totally destroyed a hip and my back.
Wow.
So that was the scary part of it. The fun part was Bob Hope came to see us on his 25th anniversary of the his USO. I had to stop and think for a minute what it was. The USO, and we were the 25th Infantry Division out of Hawaii, and it was Christmas, so that was a really fun time because all the GIs were sitting there. We even brought them down from the hospital, and I worked the operating room. So we took everyone. If you could walk or talk or wanted to go by ambulance, we took you. And it was a big rice bowl, we called it. And I don't remember exactly who else was there. I think Joey Heatherton. I've never heard of her before after that. But she was there. Bob Hope, Les Brown and his orchestra people.
Wow.
And that was a fun. Then that night we had a Christmas party. We didn't have anyone that could play Santa Claus. So I volunteered. I played Santa Claus. And so we were able to give out small gifts like toothbrushes and combs, except that probably the men and women had. There were only, speaking of women, there were only 9 round-eyed, and the rest of them were Vietnamese, mostly. And they used to call me Baby Son because they had earrings, and I didn't wear earrings. And so even the little ones would go, "Oh, Mama's son, no baby son." So that was a fun time. The rest of it was getting to know the men that I worked with. And there was only a couple of females that I worked with. And they were nurses in the operating room. But it was, I just don't remember some of it because I tried to forget because it was really scary for me. But we had to do our job. And sometimes I worked 24 hours a day and sometimes 36 hours. I didn't know a day had 36 hours in it, but it does. So But that was the scary part and the fun part. And I worked hard because I went to Vietnam about 9 months after I came into the military. I already had my education, so they didn't have to educate me in the operating room, and they needed operating room nurses badly then. So I would work, and sometimes I'd even crawl up on the OR table and go to sleep for an hour or two because I was so dead tired.
Yeah.
And when I was injured, I fell on my hip, my left hip, and I didn't say anything to anybody because we had GIs coming in from the field that were being hurt. So I worked about 12 hours, and all of a sudden the tears started coming out of my eyes, and the pain was so intense. And one of the doctors saw me, and he said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "My back hurts and my hip hurts." He said, "What did you do?" And I said, "Well, I slid into the bunker when we were mortared the last time." And he just put me right to bed for a while, gave me some stuff for pain. But even jarring my bed was a bummer on it. So those were the scary parts. And then I said something about getting to know the people. Well, I didn't usually have a day off because we had 6 OR rooms, no, 5 OR rooms, and the 6th one was in, you could turn the fan on if you want to, okay. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, 6 operating rooms. The operating room nurse on the 6th one would work in Central Supply, and that's where I was, and they finally put me there because I could get people out. I remember a fella named Gordon Biggs. He and his comrades worked with me, and one night we went down and stole the table out of the Sergeant Major's desk, who was a pain in the you-know-where. But we needed it more than he did to fold sheets and all stuff like that. So they went down, totally disassembled it, brought it up to Central Supply, reassembled it, and painted it overnight. So when the Sergeant Major came looking for it, he couldn't tell if it was his or not because it didn't look like his. Gordon was a good friend and a co-worker, and we were not supposed to fraternize, but we didn't have any place to go. There wasn't an officers' club. There was only an enlisted man's club, and they invited us to join them all the time. So we didn't have any sodas to drink because we couldn't get them in from Saigon. So they gave us apricot juice. That's what we had in a can. We drank an awful lot of apricot juice. And about maybe a few months after I got there, I just went blank for a minute. That's easy to do. But I, like I said, it was hard work. And Martha Ray came. Do you know her?
Heard her, yeah.
Okay, Martha Ray came into the operating room, and she had been an operating room nurse. We didn't know that until she told us.
Oh, wow.
So we were glad to see her. And we had a priest that would come, and he'd come right in to the door of the operating room and give us communion if we wanted it. And most of the time we did, but sometimes we couldn't do it right then. But he would give it to us. And the one time that I felt bad about and I still think about it sometimes. But I was, this 19-year-old boy was, had his leg almost shot off. And I was holding it up in the air to have them scrub it down. And all of a sudden I had the whole leg in my arm and I almost fainted. That's the first time I ever got that bad. But that was really difficult to get through.
Yeah.
But it's all right now because at least we saved his life and got him going again. When they left our place, they usually went to Tokyo and then to the States. So I never saw any of them again after we operated on them. I do know I had a little Vietnamese lady that was shot in the belly and she was pregnant. So the doctor said, "Do you think you could deliver this?" And I said, "Well, I'll do my best." And I brought out this little boy baby who had the darkest long hair. And so Mom got well and baby was well. We needed something to feed the baby with. We didn't have baby bottles. So I said, "Well, get a bottle, cut the tips off of the rubber gloves and let him suck on that for a while." And one of my enlisted men said, "Oh, wait a minute. I have a baby bottle." I said, "What?" I said, "Where did you get a baby bottle?" Well, his wife would send him booze in a baby bottle, and they were plastic, so they didn't. They just didn't think about the plastic,
Everything.
So he got it. We washed it out. It was sterile because of the alcohol in it, and we fed that baby with that bottle and the milk that we got. Most of it was canned milk or powdered milk, but that baby ate it anyway. So the last I knew, it was thriving very well. So, but that was a long time ago. But even in the States, we did a lot of extra work, being on call. Besides the doctors, but they could take a break in between. Like if you had something wrong with your leg, well, you had something wrong with your chest. Well, the chest doctor might do surgery on him and then stop and then come over to the leg. So we had to set up tear down. In the States, the really extreme difficulty that we had was finding enough OR people to work there. That's why we worked so many hours. I remember I was on call that night, and about 7 o'clock at night they called me in. This GI had crashed his jet into one of the mountains over there. I mean, broke him to death. And we worked nonstop till about 6 o'clock in the morning. And when the people started coming in for day shift, I said, "You have to cancel all these people because it'll take us forever to clean up this room." Because we'd set up for one, and I would circulate. That means going around and getting all the supplies. And then I would open the next set. I'd go scrub in, and then my enlisted man would go out and circulate for me. So that's how we did it all night. His face, his head, his body. And his mom found out that I was a Coca-Cola drinker, or a cola sometime. And she brought us a case of, I don't remember if it was Pepsi or so, it was just soda, that's all we cared about. And so we shared it. And the one doctor, his name just passed, but I don't remember right now. He said, "Betty, can we help? What can I do?" And I said, can you find someone to come down and wash these instruments so we can get them put back up because they would need them for the next day or so. So that's part of my stories.
Wow.
Wow.
They're difficult to get through, and I do have a little post-traumatic, but not too much now. But every once in a while I ask to go see the nurse clinician over at Bettendorf, just to clear my mind with the stuff that I see. And right now I'm pretty hard on the aides here because I want them to do the very best work. But I don't want to see someone come in and just give me a bath. They have to show a little compassion, a little bit of pain, suffering, and know that someone loved them at one time, even if they were, I have no family left, they all passed away. I have some nieces and nephews around the country, but they don't get here too often. So, but those are difficult to think about. But I do go over there periodically for about 3 visits or 4 visits and talk it out with a nurse practitioner, and
That's
then
good.
I'm all set to go for another 100,000 miles. I got to tune up, so to speak.
Have you ever seen some of the patients you treated?
Pardon?
Have you ever encountered any of the patients you treated?
No.
Never,
The
really.
one, I just thought of this. I don't know if you're an old movie buff, but I am. And there was a movie star called Tim Holt. He was with Treasure of the Sierra Madres with Humphrey Bogart. I met him. He was on my operating room table. And I looked at him, and now he was my age or older. And I looked at him. I said, "You look very familiar. Do I know you?" And he said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "Well, where did you work?" He said, "Well, in Los Angeles, Hollywood area." I said, "Oh, okay." And I looked at his name and I said, "Tim Holt. Tim Holt. Tim, you're Tim Holt." Oh my God. Because his father was a well-known cowboy actor. His name was Jack Holt. But I was so surprised I almost fell on my tail. I jumped back a little bit. And I went to visit him a couple of times while I was in the hospital. And then I lost track of him, so I just don't. He probably is deceased now, but it's just so funny to meet these people that you see that are. He was in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here he is on my operating room table. So, but
Yeah.
other than that, the staff in the operating room, including anesthesia, were extremely good. And I saw that more and more as I went around the country to different studio assignments. So we had, like I said, we had a good time. We partied a lot. I'm not a drinker, so I used to say, "Okay, give me your keys." And then I would have to drive 3 or 4 people home and then go back and get them the next day so they could get their own cars.
What inspired you to join the Nurse Corps?
Well, my mom, I think she wanted me out of the house. But I don't know. She saw this little thing. It was a little blurb like this in the newspaper one day. And she said, "Betty, they're going to have invite you to go to San Antonio to see about joining the Army Nurse Corps." And she said, "But you have to call this number and get a piece of paper." And so I did. And I thought, well, I always wanted to be an Air Force nurse, but because of my eyes, they wouldn't take me. That was, no. But anyway, so I was scheduled to go to San Antonio on November of 90, no, yeah, 90, 65. That's when John F. Kennedy was killed.
Yeah.
And so they took us down, but they didn't have as much activity. They curtailed most of it, and that was fine with us too. And there was a nurse on board who was from the Catholic hospital, and she was a religious. And I said, "Are you going to join the army?" She said, "No, I just want to see what it's like and to teach the other people from where she was." I think she was from Dubuque, but I can't remember that. So I try to forget a lot of stuff that I don't really. Clutters my brain now when I'm old.
Where did you serve in Vietnam then?
I was at Cu Chi.
Could you?
That's about 25 miles northwest of Saigon. And we were in fatigues the whole time. That's the only time I ever had a blister on my feet from wearing boots. But as soon as I got back in civilian shoes, it was fine. But we had another story that I just thought of. We had difficulties with female sanitary supplies. Well, for some reason, we got a whole Conex full of Kotex, but they weren't the regular type. They were OBGYN, so they went from the back of your neck to the front of your chin. That's how big they were. And my fellas got so used to doing funny things with them. One tied him on his head as a rabbit ears like this and walked into the OR. And I said, "What are you, Harvey?" And he said, "No." And then they had him hanging from their deuce and a half trucks just as an antenna flag. And I said, "You know what? What if your wife or your mother needed those?" And they stopped doing it. But it was funny because why would a whole division of men or women, we had only had 9, like I said, but there was a whole division of men, and they sent us Conex full of sanitary supplies. Or my mom was alive then, and I needed a lot of things over there. The men didn't have lighters. Sometimes we couldn't even find a match. But so my mom got together with my one sister who was then alive, and they put on shows, in backyard shows, and they got money for, they went around the town asking for donations. We got everything in that box. I remember opening it. But there were several Zippo lighters that someone had donated. And I said, "You know what? I don't think we could use them without fluid." So I talked to the supply officer, and he was able to get some lighter fluid to pass out to the people. But some of those stories I haven't thought of for years, because, like I said, it's a difficult story. It's really hard, especially as I got older, and I had to have some surgery, put a new hip in because it was so bad. And I finally had to medically retire from after about 17 and a half years, because it was harder for me to do the work than it was beneficial for the patients. So I went up to the doctor one day and I said, "I quit." He said, "What do you mean you quit?" I said, "The pain is unbearable." I had just finished putting a young man in a striker frame, and he had tongs in his head. He fell off of the jump tower at Fort Benning, Georgia, and landed wrong. And so he was busted up pretty good. But I was crawling around on my hands and knees on the floor to do some of the stuff. And every once in a while, I'd go like this, because that's the only place he could feel. And I said, this is what we're going to do next. This is what we're going to do next. I said, you just hold on. Are you in any pain? He said, no. I said, well, don't be afraid. Just think about it. I said, I'm here for you. And the doctors are here getting all the stuff ready. So, again, those are the good times. With the bad times, I really don't want to go through, because there were some really rough times.
Yeah.
We had outhouses for latrines, and the men had to come and empty the waste. It was a 55-gallon drum that we had to do our duties in, and they had to take it and burn it or whatever they did with it. So you never knew when you might be sitting down going to the bathroom, and all of a sudden you hear this scraping on the cement, and it was the GIs coming and getting them. So I said the women really jumped up fast, and the men didn't hear much. But it was fun. I remember a lot of names that I hadn't thought of for years, and some of them I saw after I retired, and some of them I lost track of. I don't know where they are. But one day I might meet them again.
Yeah.
I hope to be going. I was asked if I would like to go on the Guardian, or the whatever, I forgot the name of it. I'm just a little crazy now. But I was asked to go, and I filled out the paperwork, but I don't know for sure if I'm going or not.
Yeah.
So,
That'd be great if you can.
well, I've been to Washington twice. Both times it was fly in, take a taxi to the hospital, fly back, I'd take a taxi home, and fly back to where I lived in Georgia. So,
Yeah.
Have you seen the Vietnam Memorial in Washington?
that's what we'll see, all the memorials. And since I think last year they started taking vets from Vietnam era.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And all my cousins, male cousins, served about that same time. But one was medical lab, and he worked in Vietnam. The rest of them didn't. They had other jobs, and they didn't get transferred to Vietnam after basic. So,
There should be a division wall for the 25th, too.
pardon?
The 25th ID should have a wall for that time, too. You can see.
Yeah. Well, they have a female memorial
Oh, yeah.
now
Oh, yeah, I
too,
see that.
which I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But I don't really watch. I will keep the movie channel on, just so any of the loud noises kind of frighten me a little bit.
Yeah.
And especially if, like, the bathroom has some dirty things in it, my linen and my trash, and that lid, if it falls down, it sounds just like a bullet going off. That scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
I remember my mom saying when I first got back from Vietnam, my bedroom was right upstairs from hers. And she said one night she heard this clunk, and she thought someone had hit her car because it was parked out in front. So she got up, and she, no, nothing there. She went upstairs, and there I was under the bed asleep, because I backfired, probably. That's what woke her up. And she said, that's about the time. So I crawled under the bed.
It's always safer under the bed.
But she teased me that forever, that I was a scaredy cat. But we called her chicken legs, so we got even. She had the skinniest legs, but I saw a skinnier now.
So you served from 1965 and then for 17 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
About then, I never really counted it up, but I was out of the military about 3 or 4 months, and I went back in. And that's when I didn't think I'd ever go back in. But it was different kind of work than it was here. I could have gotten a job paying $300 a month, and I had to have a place to live and clothing. Well, when I went into the military, it was $300 a month, plus meals, plus clothing allowance. And so I had a better deal in the military than I would have gotten here
Yeah.
to go back in. And they needed me, so I was taken quickly.
What was it like coming home from Vietnam?
Well, that's a story that I don't like to tell, but I went through San Francisco. We landed there, and this little lady came up to me. I was in my cords, which is summer uniform, and she said, "Could you please tell me how to get to someplace I don't know?" And I said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but I'm not a airport attendant." She said, "Well, you've got a uniform on." I said, "Yes, ma'am, I just came back from Vietnam." And she spat on me. And that was very difficult to take. I don't know what her thought process were, whether she had a son that was killed or a husband, that didn't make it through. But she spat on me.
That's horrible.
So, kind of bad. And then, just recently now, they've been recognizing Vietnam people. And with the Agent Orange, with the hip and the back, with all these other things, I can't take care of myself anymore.
Yeah.
Which, it's not okay, but it's all right. That's how I can explain it. So, it's like both you have short hair, real short. Well, that's the style that women are wearing now too. And we have one here that just got her hair cut, and it's very short, but she's got a lot of hair, so it covers her bald spots. That's so, but that's the other story that I could tell you that doesn't rattle my brain is I went to a store in Davenport called, I don't know, it starts with an S, but I wanted to cash a check. It was $13 and something. I couldn't cash a check because I didn't have proper ID. I had my military ID, which was a face card. I had my driver's license, which expired almost a month or two after I got in the military. But at that time, they gave you a slip to put on your driver's license and saying that until we get out of the military, we could drive on expired driver's license. So the manager and I said, "You can take your $13 and put it someplace, because I don't need the supplies." I said, "I worked hard to get money." I said, "I probably have more money in the bank right now than you make in a whole year." And because we had no place to spend it. So that apricot nectar cost $0.25. So we paid $0.25 in MPCs, I think they were called. I can't remember right now. So those are the difficult stories. But now they're recognizing the era of Vietnam. Like I said, I have 3 or 4 cousins, male cousins, that were in the military then, and that was in the draft era. So.
Where were you stationed in the Army then?
Oh, a station. Well, I went across both oceans. Come in.
Hi, excuse me, guys. Hey, Rhonda. They were wondering if you knew where a cartridge was for name labeling.
That was
So
just
they
the
called-
nurse,
no.
or one of the
I said you
nurses.
were,
Yeah.
you were down here still. but I
And
wasn't sure.
you see my pictures on the door.
Oh, yeah.
That's Army. I saw that picture in a magazine, so I painted it. And then I thought, why should I put just the mail? So I put a dress on the mail. So,
Oh, that's really neat.
Betty, honey, I think they're going to have to come back and interview
Oh.
you again because your nurse is waiting for you.
that's fine.
It was great to
Thank
talk to
you
you,
very
man.
much. I appreciate you coming. Oh, you better not
Thanks.
touch me.
Thank you for your service, ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank you for.
But
And what is this going to be now?
Oh, it's just we're documenting veterans.
stories?
Yeah.
So they're gonna put them in the library, so people
Good.
can know.
Thank you. Come back again.
It's amazing. It's
I
wonderful
might
to talk
be up
to
to
you.
see you then.
Oh yes.
We'd love to come back.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.